Got my pen and paper. Let's see what's going on tonight. Hi, D. I was going to ask you if you want to come on in the square, but you just let me know, D, if you want to come on. Because when I start with the combo, I know you can relate. So, you're free to join whenever you want to. You okay over there?
No.
Child, I don't know. That's all right. That's all right. But if you want to take the bonnet off, you just let me know. All right, there we go. Well, hello, Marcos, Montana. What's wrong? Before I start, let me just see who gonna file in. All right, well, so D, so I had this epiphany, all right, and basically my epiphany was, I had an assignment for some students, and I really wanted them to learn about customer service, right? And I know customer service is important because of the school store. So I want, people to have a good experience when we're talking about the school store, blah, 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 whatever. So I made them read an excerpt, like 20 pages from this book about Starbucks and the way that they serve, their customers. And they have this whole philosophy around like customer service and, what have you. So basically, I went on to basically teach them. I created 4 pillars from the book, and they had to demonstrate customer service like in many different ways. So as they started demonstrating customer service, they had to learn the philosophy and then adopt their own philosophy, and then they had to channel it within themselves to determine how they want to, because I can't tell you how to be a good customer sales rep, right? So I'm teaching them to adopt their own mantra and their own way or routine of doing things. So in doing that, I had some vocabulary and, different things that I wanted to teach them, but I wanted to make sure that they understood it. So I said, well, let me go old school because I wanted to see them actually writing. And I didn't want them to have any electronic devices. So I gave them a test on the customer service, concepts that I wanted them to learn. So in turn, I said, I'm going to go old school and I'm going to just do a paper and pencil, and I want to see them, make sure they're not cheating, looking at their phone, trying to find their answers in the PDF. in the book that I provided. But I had all these stacks, like 24 papers that they hand wrote. And I never did this before, but I said, I'm going to go old school and I'm just going to, allow them to do it this way so I can actually watch them. Because I'm thinking if they're on paper and pencil, which I never do, I can really make sure that, they're not cheating or what have you. But it was the worst thing that I ever did professionally. And it just made me realize that I had to go home with these stacks of papers. I had to actually try to read their handwriting, which was not legible. And then on top of that, it was just bad. And I was like, how are teachers still doing this? I don't understand. I know math classes are kind of different because you want to see them like draw lines on a paper, or you want them to calculate the slope, and then you want to see them draw the actual slope. It got to go through the grid. I understand all that. Now that's kind of different, but still you can do that digitally too. But it's nothing like the art of a kid actually drawing and actually putting the pen in the paper with math. But I'm talking about other subject and other content areas. It is not necessary because that was one of the worst decisions that I ever made for myself. It put extra work on myself. I did not feel like I was productive. And then at the same time, I was thinking like, are my students actually learning this? So I came to the professional opinion that they weren't. And I now had a side eye for every teacher out there that did not teach math. I'm going to put math teachers like up on the shelf because I believe that math teachers is different. But it was counterproductive and it was not a good thing. When I say not a good thing, I mean that everything that you do inside of the classroom that you're giving a kid a worksheet for, it can be digitized. And when I say digitized, I mean, do you have the ability to enhance the quality of work for children? And yes, Dr. Childs, like, are children really learning? They can't really be learning with a worksheet. Like, there are tons of teachers who still use worksheets. And I don't want to throw teachers under the bus because I know sometimes teachers are set in their ways, but it's just like a doctor. A doctor could be set in their ways, but they still have to use new technology in order to treat patients the proper way and more effective way. I just think that a lot of educators are like, oh, well, here's this worksheet. There is no way. And this is my professional opinion again. And I have done it over and over and over again with children. I have tested it out. I haven't even talked to kids today. Like, it is no way that you can give a word search worksheet to a child and expect them to be driven. That's not enhancing instruction. Worksheets are like an abomination to whatever type of classroom management you're trying to set. And students are not here for it. I questioned some of my students and they were like, oh no, if I walked into a teacher's class and, when they have worksheets out and then they're passing packets of paper, who does that? I've had teachers, like when quarantine happened, teachers were in tears because they didn't know what they were doing as far as technology. But that was a time for us to learn. And it was something for us to learn and adapt to. But at the same time, you have to understand that children's lives are at stake. But it is no way. No way. And I'm not just going to say one thing like, oh yeah, don't use a worksheet. But I'm going to show you tonight, like, different things that you can do in order to enhance your instruction. And if you I have not used a worksheet in over 4 years. And I have always had high exemplar remarks for my evaluations. There's nothing that you need to give a kid on a piece of paper that cannot be digitized and that cannot be done via a Google Doc, via a Google Slide. You can use Jamboards. You can use Blukit. You can use Quizzes. You can use various different types of things. You can use Delta Math. You can use iExcel. And when I throw out different softwares and programs, that's one thing. But when you are teaching children how to become proactive adults, that spills on to budgeting, because some people still doing their bills on using a notebook. Once I moved from paper pencil activities, everything started to change for me as far as involvement, accountable talk in the classroom, movement. Different things open up when you change, like small things. I'm not asking for teachers to totally change. But I'm the department chair in my department, and I expect for us to see learning. And how can you gauge learning when you're giving someone a worksheet? I don't even like filling out applications when I go to the doctor. Or, you know, when you go to the doctor and they give you that the little board with the paper on it, and you got to fill it out if you haven't been there for a while or you're going for a physical or something. Like, all of this stuff can be done online. Okay, so you see, and the packets and worksheets, like, scares me, right? Because when you're giving a kid a packet, first of all, in my opinion, it's busy work. If you're giving a kid a packet, what can they be creative with that packet? No. Can you see creativity with that packet? Can you show evidence of learning? Yeah, they might answer the question correct. Or yeah, you know, they might give a few sentences or write something that supports evidence. But when we start talking about digitized learning, it's something totally different than a packet or a worksheet. What is it like? Okay, I share my classroom with another teacher. Hi, Rossi. I share my classroom with another teacher, and the first thing she walks into class and she was like, "Oh, hi everyone. Here's a word search. Here's a worksheet. We have a test coming up, so y'all fill out this worksheet or fill out this study guide." And kids are just sitting there receiving the study guide like robots. And then what? Right? Have you prepared a kid for a test, giving them a packet? I don't even believe in study guides, because that doesn't work either. So when we bring our instruction to a different level, then students can actually retain the work, right? You make it more adaptable. Worksheets are not adaptable, especially for students with disabilities or students that need to be accommodated. I mean, it's tons of things that we can do. But I'm going to give you an example. So here is an example, because like I said, I'm not going to complain without evidence. So instead of giving a kid a worksheet to fill out something, here's one example, right? You can create these Google Slides where kids can work in them collectively, right? So, or you can have them pair up. You can have it as a whole class assignment. You can break it up into multiple slides. But when we're writing our business plans, students have to create slides, and then they have to create an active live document that goes along with their business plan. If you want to enhance it and move even further, right? You can also start looking at the discussion tabs that's sitting in Google Classroom. They also have them sitting in Canvas, and you can create real world situations and different things that students can use in order to be more creative, in order for them to learn with more depth. Because if I'm talking about a certain assignment, like this was something that we had in business law class, we were talking about contractual agreements, prenups, right? Different things, like how marriage is a contractual agreement, when you're lending money or when you're borrowing money, so on and so forth. But when you talk about digitized learning, we talk about connecting pieces of technology that they use in order to enhance instruction, to make it more interesting, and then at the same time make it more informative. So I have 3 different types of connections within all of my lessons, right? At least 3. So here we have a forum. I picked the actual company. They had to research and determine why this new company with this new tech-based learning system, where they have, you can go on a computer and get a prenup, right? You don't have to go through the courts in the old traditional long dragged out system. So they researched the company, showed them the Shark Tank, and then they participate in discussion posts, right? And in the discussion posts, they're able to talk to one another. And when they're talking to one another, they're able to read each other's threads, just like the comments in Instagram, right? So when they're reading each other's threads, they're replying to each other, they're interacting with one another, they're actually dropping links, because they have to drop a link of research or some type of scholarly text that supports their claims. But when you start talking about interaction with students and turning around and creating an environment where students are learning, it is the utmost, all right, the utmost beneficial, conducive learning environment for kids. Because here you can see kids are learning. And then when you put them in a scenario where they're all in this think tank together, and it's important because I look at things from systems of think tanks. So you put all of these kids together in a think tank where they are posting their own ways of how they contribute to the concept that they're learning. You can do many different things. And that's what makes learning so phenomenal, when you can see kids interacting with one another real time, and then see kids talk about researched articles that they read. They link them, and then other students have opinions, and they say, let me go and read this article too. So this is an example, another one with my advanced entrepreneurship students. I'm trying to see how they reenact, or how they depict, and how they think about customer service. So I wanted to see them in action. I gave them the protocol. This is what I want you to do. I want you to be proactive. I want you to greet customers. I want you to make the customer experience positive. But you have to figure out how to do that on your own. And once you figure out how to do that on your own, all right, then you need to upload a video onto this discussion thread. My discussion threads are so thorough that these students upload multiple videos sometimes. And when they're looking at these videos, they have to reply to another student's video. So this forces students to first select the video of the person they want to see, or multiple videos. And then once they see those videos, then they turn around and they have to write about it. So then they're like, oh yes, I like the way that you did this, Annie, right? Or I like the way that Tanaya greeted a customer. But how are we actually enhancing our learning. It's a beautiful thing when kids can even look at the things that adults need, like online courses, which are for free. Harvard, Cornell, all of these different universities, even Hampton, they host these different presentations. They host these different online courses that teaches kids how to be tech savvy, how to even, if you're teaching a certain concept, how to analytically think. And when we start talking about students thinking from critical thinking standpoints, then you have the ability to enhance instruction. These are things that a worksheet can't do. A packet can't do it. It's no check system that you can rely on with worksheets. So my charge is for teachers to, hey cousin, is for teachers to do away with worksheets. Like, let's try to strip yourself of a worksheet. Maybe you want to set a goal. Well, 60% of my work on this unit will be tech-based. 40%, I think 40% is too much, but 80-20, right? The 80-20 rule. Because when you're giving a kid a piece of paper, you are really living in the ice age. And I said it. Sorry. It is no way. Now, elementary students, like I have, listen, that's something totally different. I've never taught elementary school. I'm not talking to elementary school teachers. But high school students, and when you're teaching a course where you should be connected with technology and you're still passing out worksheets, something's wrong. And I can even go as far as say, you're being lazy. It's just like a doctor writing a prescription. Why they don't write them no more on paper, right? So I think that a lot of times we do things that's me-centered and not student-centered. So when you're student-centered, you think about what the kid needs and what can last and have an impression upon a kid where the kid can learn, and not only learn in your class, but learn different things about themselves. Hi, Michelle. But yeah, I charge all educators to put the paper and pencil away. I would say do a 95% rule. And try to prepare your lessons. And lesson planning, I think, is something that, like this dirty word, with two dirty words that people don't like, but it's all about organization. Yeah. The reality is that nobody's using paper and pencil no more, right? Even in the real world, like job applications, nobody fills out paper and, well, I don't know, I'm assuming. Job applications, everything is online. So why are we still giving our kids worksheets? And it's your job, your charge. You chose to be a teacher. It is part of your job to enhance instruction and meet the needs of these kids that's going to move out of their parents' home and go into the real world. They're going to be sitting in someone's dorm, but at least you prepared them for what they need. Or you was a vehicle of their preparedness. What's up, Q? So it's various things you can use. Yeah, they don't want to evolve and adapt, but at the same time, it is not, it's not about you. And I think that we need to get these teachers out of the system that are not willing to evolve and adapt. And a lot of these administrators know who these teachers are. You're an administrator. You know who they are. And they need to go. Just like y'all don't want like bigotry in the schools. You don't want teachers in the school that's racist. We don't want teachers in the school that don't want to evolve. These kids are sitting in these teachers' classrooms. They're getting packets. And you know what's happening? They're failing your children. And it is unjust. And I think not only do we need to start investigating why our kids are getting low grades, we need to investigate what's going on in the classrooms too. And I know people will be like, now y'all stepping on toes, we need teachers. But at the same time, we need effective practices. Effective practices. We're talking about things that work. Yes, Dr. Childs, we cannot keep preparing children for a world that used to exist. That's true. And I think that a lot of us fall short. And effective PD needs to come from effective people. I need to see people with results, right? I need to see, what did you do for children or for a school system for you to stand in front of this auditorium or this lecture hall and tell me what to do. I think a lot of times schools, I know my district, they buy up all these programs and all these different things they want teachers to use, and then we use it one year and they throw it away. But I think really PD is something that's extra. What you do inside your classroom, that falls on you. So teachers need to get out of education if you don't want to evolve. If you don't want to start using things to your advantage that's online, you can, and Dr. Childs the other day was talking about what are you going to sacrifice, right, in order to become better. And I heard that word the other morning, and I thought about that. And I sacrifice sleep, right? Because I think that I can sleep when I die. Sleep is the cousin of death. Because when I'm sleeping and getting some Z's and dreaming, I could have been doing things that's productive for my students. And I'm not talking about teachers need to burn themselves out. But you have to set up a regimen and become a model, a practicum for your kids. A lot of these students, they don't see adults that are, we could put caring and relationships and all that stuff to the side, but they don't see adults that's organized. They don't see adults that look like they have planned a lesson, and they don't look like they're freestyling a lesson. They don't see adults looking the part, presentation-wise, and they don't see adults that look like and sound like they know what they're doing. So, I don't know. D, I think teachers do need effective PD, but they went to school for this. I think we need to stop relying on professional development. These teachers went to school to become teachers, right? They went through enough seminars to become a teacher. What are you doing at home on your regular time to perfect your craft? Because I know if we were paying teachers like basketball players, they'd be in the gym, just like the basketball players are in the gym. But are you in a gym for your profession as an educator? Instead of watching whatever you're watching on TV, binge watching on Netflix, how about you binge watch on how to use a Quizzes or a Blue-Kit or a Quizlet Live within your lesson? Professional learning is needed, but that can't be the only thing that we rely upon. We can't say, oh, I'm not a good teacher, or I'm getting low marks on my evaluations because I'm not getting enough professional development. And a lot of times that professional development that they throw at us is trash. Let's be real. So I would charge a parent. Let's say that you have a particular class where you have students that are not performing as they should. And every parent knows their kid. I'm talking about the high flying kid. Let's say you have a child, like I had my oldest daughter, it was a high flyer. She never had a problem with any subject or content area because she was just naturally smart. And I never had a tutor for her. I never had certain things. I didn't have to do certain things because she was a smart girl, right? And 4.0s, you know, every class was A's and B's. But we came to this one teacher who tried to give her a C. And it was on some personal stuff. And I think that, and it was on some, I'm not changing. And once I investigated, it was just that. It was the teacher's lack of consistency, it was the teacher. I'm not even going to say ignorance because ignorance is when you don't know. But it was the teacher's lack of quality instruction. And what's crazy is that the administrators knew about this teacher and they just let her ruin kids. Yeah, it's not a lot of teachers that really want this life. And people say, oh, I couldn't be a teacher because y'all don't make enough money. That's not true. That's not true. There are teachers making over $100,000 sitting in classrooms that are trash. And they're sitting there and they're holding up the line for everyone else. Now, like I'm saying, I'm in the DMV area. That's kind of totally different from, I don't know what's going on in Texas and Florida and Louisiana and stuff like that. I know what I made when I was in Louisiana, right? Yeah, you had to be dedicated. But yeah, I agree, but it's just not, money is one thing, but what about your craft? Like, what are we doing? No worksheets, no packets, none of that. You don't need, your activator should not be a worksheet. If your activator is a worksheet, stop it. Call off, go back home, get back in your car and get in the garage, leave. Because why? How is a sheet of paper? I don't even care if you put it fluorescent green or whatever. No. Your activator should not be paper pencil based. It's an activator. If your activator for the opening of class, for all those people who are not teachers, an activator like the warm up, there's still teachers passing out a slip of paper for a warm up as an, it's mind boggling. So if schools are different, you can imagine the things that you can do. You can do so many things with students. For instance, you can look at, like YouTube is heavy. Like all my videos for my instructional lessons that I have that's required readings or something for us to do inside of the class when I'm lecturing, because I have like multimedia things when I'm talking. My lectures are just not me standing in front of the class talking to everyone, right? So when we have different things built into my lectures, all my videos are 4 minutes or less. It is no way a kid, I think 4 minutes is too long. I always look for the 1.5 to a 3.5 max video, because a kid will lose interest. You're going to lose your hook, right? So I like to look at it like I have a meat hook. So this is when we're about to start making logos for their different companies that they're going to start. But it is no way I can tell a kid, hey, why don't you go ahead and draw your logo out on a piece of paper? Hell no. Like, I have visited entrepreneurship classes where they are telling kids to draw their damn logo. Why? When we have Canva, which is free, where kids can learn how to look and actually be their own graphic designer. So when you teach them how to create a logo through a website, then you're teaching them how to build a website, then you're teaching them how to be their own graphic designer for whatever they may need. Whether it's a flyer, whether it's some promotional materials. I mean, Canva, I use Canva in everything, just about, when they're making their resumes, when they're doing various different things. When we're talking about even, when we're talking about Excel spreadsheets, well, Google Sheets. I don't go to Excel no more. But Google Sheets, you can set up your Google Sheet, aggregate the data that you need for kids to be able to sift through data. If you can't teach a kid how to sift through data, these are skills that you need as an adult, as a business owner, as a career person. You need these skills. Some of these kids will leave classrooms and not know how to use Google Sheets. They don't even know how to effectively use Google Docs, and they type in it all the time. I think it's our responsibility to teach kids this. It's our responsibility to show them how to synthesize data. Now, this data came from a Google form. So instead of putting your stuff on paper and pencil, let's say for a warm-up, I can ask kids, this was for a presentation that kids did. We had department presentations. So they had to rate the different departments. So they had to do a peer review. So when they're doing a peer review, what I did was took the data, aggregated the data, because it automatically spills onto a synopsis sheet where you can see the pie charts and the different bar graphs. But when you give this, I sent this, created a playground for them with the data. So they can look and see, okay, I need to work on certain things. Like I need to work on body language. Like which element I need to work on. Was my body language or was my correct usage appropriate? So when you give people pictorial representations instead of words, they're able to critically think and analytically think about what they're doing. Yeah, presentations with Canva. Canva is for resumes. Canva for everything. Logos, business cards, promotional flyers, whatever you can possibly need. Even making your Canvas or Google Classroom look more attractive, you can use Canva. But I can't let kids sift through data, or I can't even teach statistics. I used to teach linear functions, statistics, data analysis. It is no way that you can give a kid proper instruction without having them on a Google Sheet, having them create bar charts, having the data from a Google form go on to a spreadsheet, and not have kids go through the data and actually crunch the data. We have data crunching sessions where we just look at the money that came in for the school store. And when we look at the money coming in from the school store, we have different charts, different graphs. We have different ways of looking at the data. But you can't do this type of stuff on a worksheet. So, that's truly a huge part of parent. I charge you to go and find out what's going on. Go sit in those classes. I don't know how to sit in the classes.
Hey, you
boo,
got
how are
me
you?
to join.
But yeah, I mean, I was just so, and then I walked into all that stemmed from me doing what I was, and you know what I did? Let me backtrack, D. When I told you I gave the kids the pencil and paper assessment, you know what? I got so frustrated. You know what I did? I gave everybody 100 in the grade book for that assessment. And I still have it in my bag because that's going to be my personal responsibility to read it one day. But that's garbage. I'm not doing that. Garbage. I don't know how you can teach all of these career and technical education courses. I'm only talking about those because that's what I teach now. Or math effectively if you're still on paper and pencil. Pixel art and math.
Outside of
they got all.
When I commented that, I always ask my students to see their assignments when I see a worksheet or a packet. So you have your English classes, and then you have your history classes that have lots of packets and worksheets circulating. Science, yeah.
Shouldn't be.
It's not, it's not just
like
in CTE. I really think it's across the board. So that's why I had commented that teachers need effective PD. They need PD on best practices.
But what happens to you sitting at your house? And right. But what happens to you sitting at your house and you finding the best practices on your own? YouTube is your friend. Google is your friend. There are tons of resources out there for a teacher to enhance their instruction and then at the same time learn a new technique. But a lot of teachers are not open to that.
They're lazy. They're burnt out. They're not open. They're set in their ways. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. But it's really effective PD on best practices and what instruction should look like to get results. Like, I'll give you an example.
Yeah, that's true.
My students today, we're on our I teach child development for those of you that don't know me. So we're on our toddler unit. We're in the first area. So we're covering toy selection and toy safety for children. And so they had to take their notes, not on paper. They take them on a Google Doc. They went over the 7 components of toy safety. So these are things that toys or products that are for purchase would have to meet prior to reaching the store, right? Before it gets inside of your Target, your Walmart, Amazon, wherever, that has to meet minimal requirements to be considered, safe for purchase. After that, they had to utilize their notes to create a toy advertisement based on the age that I let them choose. And I told them you had to choose age 1, 2, or 3. So the toy that you research has to be for a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, or 3-year-old. And then you will research what toy you want to do, and you're going to create your ad. There are options for creating their ad. You can use a Google slide. You can use, some of them like to use Prezi. You could use Canva, of course, however you want to go about designing it, but it should be an advertisement, meaning, and I told them the purpose of an ad is to do what? They was like, get you to buy something, right? So it should be attractive. It should be artistic. It should be, enticing people to purchase the product. And so they had stuff that they had to include within their ad, but they had to design it digitally. And then from there, they're going to interact on a discussion board. When we return next week, they're going to have to place their ad showing the toy that they researched and created the ad for on a discussion board, and they have to respond to at least one other person in the class ad to see if their ad and the toy they selected met those 7 components that we took the notes on. But they have to explain why or why not. Would you pull this product off the shelves? Explain. Things like that, I think a lot of teachers may not know how to do. And if they don't know how to do certain lessons like that, they are set in their comfort zone and they don't want to learn how to do it. It's like taking the easy way out. And I'll just keep giving the worksheet because it's working for me, and then I can just, keep doing what I do. I don't have to learn something new or a new way, which is, of course, highly unfortunate. I know.
Okay, so
I know.
yeah, with so my cousin Ray, he's an
Mm.
administrator. Sorry, I always be putting his government information out there, but looking at it from an administrative standpoint of view, you know who these teachers are, right? Um, and I know it's not a lot because some teachers are vested. You can't do certain things. You know, they got the union and all these different things. And the union protects the bad teachers and the good teachers. Like, I get it. But his question was, from your perspective, what would be the best way to present that change so that it would be accepted? And here's my answer to that would be to show results. I think that a lot of times people need to see what's effective first. They need to see that it worked. And when I see that it worked and how effective it was for the students in that class, then I can have a higher percentage of teachers following suit. For instance, you can have this symposium, or we can have a staff meeting, and I want to show you all what happened in Miss Harris's class with her math scores, right? I want to show you all how she raised math scores or got 80% of her kids to pass the state SOL, or the state standards of learning exam. This is what she did. And I'm going to show film, right, of her practices. I'm going to show you like different ways that she went through. Maybe she used project-based learning. Maybe she used a variety of different other types of strategies. I'm going to show you what she did, and then I'm going to show you her results. Now, I think people are more open or more receptive when they see a, a result first, and then they're more open to listen. And then they can say, well, shit, 50% of my kids pass, right? I want to see how it can get, if I do this, then maybe I can get another 30% to pass. But that's just my opinion. I think that people need to see. That's why it's
Yeah.
important for teachers to do gallery walks. We need to
I
go
was
see other
about to say that. I was
instruction
about to
that's
say there's a lot of schools that
effective.
did gallery walks, or they, have some type of peer observation system where you can observe your colleagues.
Yeah. You need to be able to observe your colleague. And I have my young teacher on here. I'm not gonna put her out there like I put my cousin Ray out there. But it's going to be important when we're talking about teachers coming into education and they're novice to the arena. Is most important for you to go see effective teaching, because if you don't see it and all you do is read about it, it's not going to be the same. I think teachers need to see. If I can see, let me tell you, the things that changed my life in teaching was when I saw effective teaching, and I said, dang, I want to be that for my kids. And I take what I saw and then I twist it and, modify it to my liking. And then I find my own rhythm. And then you find that students come to your
Right.
class when they
Mm-hmm.
don't go to other classes. Right? And you find that students actually yearn for your class. They create an appetite for your class. And that's something that's my goal this year. Like, I want to hook kids to the point where they're hungry. to come to Miss Lewis's class. And it's not hungry because I'm giving them some cookies and cake. I'm hooking kids because I want them to continue to yearn
Yeah, you got a lot
for advancement.
teachers still out here with these textbooks. that worksheets, but
first of all,
textbooks, that's like,
or let trash teachers convince you that they're good. What will argue you down? I got some colleagues, boo. They will argue. I know they trash, and they will argue. Do you know how they be in the hallway talking? Can you believe that such and such came, observed me, and he got the nerve to say this and say that? Girl, and I'm saying to myself, you trash. Guys too? Like, and there's a lot of, I think that, I'm trying to be nice. It's just trash teachers out there. And I don't know what else. We need to get them. They need to go.
I mean, it is what it is.
People and parents, I'm always here for it. Parents, these people went to school.
That's why I talk
teach
about it
your
on
kids.
My page. I'm like, you parents better understand. You better understand who and who is not building a relationship with your child. You better get involved, and you better understand who is not. I don't understand how you can reach and teach children and you don't give a damn about them, and you not building no relationships. You don't even know them, want to know them. Y'all better get in teachers' spaces and see who is teaching your child. They should be building connections. They should be building a relationship. Half the time the kids aren't doing because they don't have no connection.
You're only as strong as your
no
leader.
Connection.
If your leader, think about it, because in corporate world or in schools, the teachers are only great based upon the administration and what vision they have for the teachers, what systems they have put in place, even though we're doing our own things in our classrooms. But when accreditation comes, it's top down, right? So when we start talking about trash teachers, and I like that what Dr. Child said. He said he asked them to show them their data. What? They can't even come up with data because they don't know how to crunch the data. They don't know how to collect the data. They don't know
the data.
Parents need to be more involved with this. I'm telling you, this can kill a kid's math career. Like, you can change a kid, you can ruin a kid. Mr. Such and such from the 3rd grade, who was a horrible trash teacher, now he did this to 25 of his kids in his class. Now all those 25 kids, they're not going to be able to pass a state test without intense instruction later on down the line because he ruined them.
Indeed. Well,
hi, Ray.
Indeed. No, man, you was preaching good. I wasn't going to shout you down. You was on your good stuff. Well, I asked you that question on purpose, but I'm going to make this statement. You're going to stop telling my business. That's all I'm going to say about it. All right, I'm done messing with you. I'm going to behave after that. I'm going to behave because I know I cut up when I get on your... Huh?
That's all your
You ain't
business.
tell it all, but you ain't going to tell it all.
Business.
I know that. So anyway, I asked that question on purpose because I'm curious to know what the teacher's perspective is, because like I'm in the middle of this with a lot of my staff right now, like trying to introduce the need for reorganization and change where there wasn't a lot of organization previously. And I find and have found over my career as an administrator that a lot of teachers tend to put a lot of emphasis and time on poking holes and finding things to say. If they'd have applied that same energy to their instruction, they wouldn't need someone to come and tell them something. You know what I'm saying? They're not keeping that same energy. So
Yeah.
I'm curious because I'm always trying to find a way to present things in a way where it's palatable and it's backed with evidence. For example, like I hear what you're
Mhm.
saying about results, but I'll challenge you to with a few of the normal challenges that I hear, which are, and y'all are gonna roll y'all's eyes because y'all hear it too. It's, oh well that might work for those kids over there, but this isn't, that data ain't good for my kids because I know my kids. Now, right, y'all have heard all of this. Look, I'm telling you stuff that teachers say, and y'all are
Mhm.
shaking your head. Am I lying? I ain't lying.
No.
That may work for them,
Mhm.
or they focus on the wrong thing. They'll go into a classroom like I sent many years ago. Statute of limitations is up. I'm not gonna say the school, but I sent a group of teachers to a whole other district to see a campus and the way that they were doing a certain initiative, and they had to report back. I had to stay because I was an AP at the time, and there was like a big behavior issue I had to deal with, so I couldn't go on the trip with them. I had to handle other business, but expecting
Mhm.
professionals with college degrees to be able to properly observe something and bring some information back. Hey, so what did you think about that? The only thing that they were telling me is about student behavior. I didn't see one cell phone. What all of this and all of that. Okay, but what about the instruction in the classroom? Crickets. So so sometimes people don't focus, and we can get into it too. When I say we, I mean I know y'all think administrators on the dark side. We ain't gonna touch that, but it is what it is. Like it's
I don't.
we focus
I
on
don't.
student behavior and ain't got, and we don't control what we can control. Like I'm going through a curriculum cycle right now, or starting a curriculum cycle with all the several different divisions that I oversee, and I know, like I've already prepared myself to say what this meeting is and what it is not. And what it is this has nothing to do with what resources you're under the impression that you don't have or any other gripes about student behavior. This is the only thing that we're talking about in this meeting, to keep the main thing is literally what comes out of your mouth every single day. That's it. We're not talking. We're going to acknowledge that all the rest of that stuff exists. But what we're going to talk about, the only thing that we talk about in the Baptist church at this point, the word for the day is what comes out of your mouth. Get your own house in order.
Mm-hmm.
Is basically what it is. So I think a lot of that dialogue tends to always get met with these preconceived notions and a lot of preconceived defense mechanisms and they're difficult to deal with because
Mhm.
even when you earnestly look, I want to help me help you, tell me the truth so I can know what I need to do to
Mhm.
facilitate for you. Because it's not my job to put, as an administrator, it's not my job to put all the kids through their paces in your entrepreneurship class and to be able to go walk in there and rock out Canva like you can rock it out. You're the expert. It's my job to put you in the best position to win. Like like a coach. It's not my job to go out there and be Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. It's my job to draw up plays to make sure that they can do their thing and they can perform to their highest level. And everybody ain't like that, you know. Whenever you want to attack your comfort zone, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people love their comfort zone more than they love winning.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
they
That's true.
they in love with their own stuff and they only in like with student achievement. And
Mm.
you can't
I
be in
like
like
that.
with it.
But you know what? You can't be in like with it. But you know what? Dr. Childs said make them show growth data. But Dr. Childs, you're speaking Greek to them
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know what that looks like. They don't. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, they don't
That's
know
the
how to get the data. They
yeah.
can't show you
That's the key
data.
part.
You know, but
And
you say,
they look
show me your
like
data in your class that supports
they
the
looking at you
evidence
like
that
you
you're
got
teaching
horns coming out your
effectively.
head. Like data what?
Or my
I mean,
personal
it's
favorite.
like that
My
bad. They don't
personal
know what.
favorite is when it's bad like that and they do know how to pull it, especially if you have a really we're blessed. Our district is very data heavy. There's all these systems, it's all inputted. So it's easy to pull it. We have a program called Eduphoria. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But I mean, but you can pull all kinds of charts, tables, disaggregated just with a few clicks. It's pretty user friendly. Like, you can get all the data you want. And of course, you have to look at it. But if your stuff ain't adding up, oh, well, the data is skewed. The test was bad. Everything, it's always out of the window. The problem is always out the window and never in the mirror. And all the creative ways that we make that to happen. So I mean, I feel you on that. Hey, for me, it's sometimes it's facts over feelings. Like, what's the fact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so he said admins should lead this effort. Use pre and post test data for your school.
I agree.
I agree. Pre and post data, but pre and post data, not just test data though. I would charge that as a teacher, I need to see pre and post.
Absolutely.
Even in my lessons, my daily lessons. I have multiple formative. I use my 5-finger rule. I have at least 5 formative assessments during a lesson. All right. And remember, I'm only talking for maximum 20 minutes. All right. Because if I'm talking for the whole 72 minutes,
sure.
How am I showing evidence of learning? How am I going to grasp and understand that my kids are learning? But with 5 different types of formative assessments during a lesson, right, with infused movement, I mean, it is no way that you can't measure a kid's success. But you can't do that if you're sitting behind your desk and you passed out some worksheets. It would allow you to ask by grade subject level and going well. Yeah, but here's what you said earlier, Ray. I've learned this years ago, that instruction
100%. They're bored out of their mind and tired of watching you flop around like a fish. And that's why you can't manage it. And also, management is a skill.
And
like, classroom management is a skill. I have found that
adding on to what you were saying, and they're tired of watching their teachers be unprepared.
Yeah, they know.
And then they know they're sitting there, and they're right. Here comes the worksheet or the packet, and then you wonder why your class is jumping off the daggone wall.
I'll say this. Maybe this is a little too absolute, so y'all shout me down if you can contend with this. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I have met and observed good classroom managers that have just been okay teachers, sometimes even trash teachers. But I have never met a good teacher that really gave effective instruction that was not also a good classroom manager. Not somebody that knows their content. Let me make that important differentiation, because there's lots of people that know the content up, down, left, and right. I have never seen in my entire life a good educator, somebody that's giving good instruction day in and day out and has the student success data to back it up, that was also not a good classroom manager.
I think you have to work, it's twofold. It's like the can of Pepsi, right? When I'm teaching marketing, a can of Pepsi is 50% packaging, 50% profit. So when we start talking about things that go together, you can't have one without the other. And I think that a lot of teachers, we tend to forget that you have to have a plan for management, and you also have to have a plan for the lesson. Instructionally, and then you also have to have a plan on how to deliver the lesson, because a lot of times teachers, we know the content, but you don't know how to deliver it effectively. And if I don't know how to deliver it effectively, then I can't deliver it effectively if I don't even know how to manage the moving parts that my lesson is going to fall into. So that's why the science of teaching, all right, is so compartmentalized that you have to find a way to synthesize, and you can't do it if you checking out at 3:15 every day. That. If you are not staying after work, and I don't care what somebody about to get mad with me, because if I go home every day when the kids getting on the bus and I'm running out to the bus, It is no way you're gonna show me that teacher, and I bet you their data is not together, because you're gonna have to make a sacrifice and say, I'm gonna stay late. I'm gonna have to make sure that my kids at my house are okay until I get this taken care of. Because if you leave and when the kids leave, it is no way that you have done an effective and productive job at teaching those kids to the level that they needed to be taught.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that mediocre stuff. And here's where parents have to look at the assignments that's given to their children. They need to invest. Go look at your kids' Canvas pages. I would sit one night, hey, Dandria, just do this exercise as a parent, because I'm a teacher and I'm a parent first, and then I'm a teacher. But this is what I want you to do, Frank. Go to your kids' online portal where all of the learning where the classroom is at, because everybody have the online portal now. We use Canvas. I don't know what y'all use, Ray, but go through each of your kids' classes, all 6 or 7 or 8, and look at the different ways that the teachers have presented their portal, their classroom online. We could start there. Because as administrators, y'all got to look at that stuff too, right? Y'all got to make sure that the teachers have set up their stuff properly or whatever. But you can tell which teacher cares or which teacher is more invested in this art of teaching. But let's start looking at their Canvas pages. Let's look at their Google Classroom pages. What's their organization looking like? Are they using the same thing that's given by the district, that old plain template, right? Or did they personalize it? Did they put their picture on it? Did they make it or organize it in a fashion where kids can easily assess things? Like, is there an option on the syllabus? If you look at your kid's syllabus, does the syllabus say how a kid can get a second chance at learning? What's the
I'm glad you
retake
said
policy?
invested, because it brings to mind a formula that I learned from reading a book from Dr. Anthony Muhammad. I don't know if that name strikes a bit. If it doesn't, it needs to, because Dr. Muhammad's stuff, he's written several books. He's one of those PLC gurus from Solution Tree and everything. He's my personal Michael Jordan. Like, he's the dude I want to be when I grow up. He wrote a book specifically about, along with Luis Cruz, about how specifically to introduce change. And I think it works for everyone and everything, because he talks about 3 different investments: cognitive investment, an empathetic investment, and a functional investment. The name of the book is A Time for Change, and it's on Amazon. It's cheap. I think it's like $20, something like that. And it's a quick read. You'd like it, Kat. You'd like it. So check it out. But the cognitive is, I see you right.
I wrote it down.
Cognitive investment is tell you why. Like, were you saying the results? Show me the results, or show me the evidence, the empirical evidence. Hey, we got to change X. Why? Because the data says our students need help in XYZ, or this is what the facts say, and here's how it points to the need for the change. You make the empathetic investment, which is like the people, which is kind of, hey, let's have a conversation about it. Or are you feeling pensive? Can I help you? Let me gain your trust. Or let's work to trusting each other that, hey, we're going to work through this. How do you need the support? Yada, yada, yada. And then the functional investment is the training. Like, let me make sure that you get all the resources you need to get this done, whether it be training, physical things. If I'm gonna trigger you a little bit, but it's just a simple example. I can't expect everyone to complete this packet by the end of the week. If I ain't buying nobody no copy paper. You know what I'm saying? Or I can't expect you to go more in line with what we should be talking about. I can't expect you to be more tech savvy, but yet I'm not providing any devices. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a better example. Yeah. So here's the thing. I made these 3 investments. At the end of that, there's one that we need to talk about, which is the return on my investment. because I've explained to you in great detail why we need to do this. There's empirical evidence. That's not me. It's facts. It's not feelings. We've talked about it. We've explained it. We've gone round and round. I've let you tell me how uncomfortable, we've had those conversations, those real conversations. And I made sure you had everything you need to do to make it happen. If you've done all three of those things, there's one thing that's left for you to do it. And if you don't want to do it, that's a whole different type of conversation. And for me, as a rule, especially as somebody that works to try and always be more as emotionally intelligent as possible, is I stop myself and ask myself, have I truly checked all three of these boxes before I go say something? Because it's what have I done or not done to create this situation? What have I said or not said to create this situation? Those types of things, and self-reflection. If I haven't explained it well enough, okay, let me re-explain it. If we got a crappy relationship, well, let's work on that so you can understand that, hey, I'm on your team, yada, yada, yada. Or if I hadn't trained you, that's on me. I need to get you trained. Point blank. But at the end of the day, if it's just do or don't do, that's a whole different type of vibe. And that's where it gets crazy, because you said both the art and the science of teaching in the process of your conversation. Teachers are very like artists. I have, like, Erykah Badu, like I'm an artist. I'm sensitive about my shit.
And I'm serious.
That's why teachers always get defensive whenever you approach them about their instruction, because I created this. Or I paid my good money on Teacher Pay Teacher. I paid $5 for this. And what you mean this don't work? This was guaranteed to work, This is from the killer store that I know about. I got this from Miss Lewis' store. Of course this is going to be, what I'm saying? I don't even know if you got a page. I was just being silly for.
She does.
I do.
But even then,
but I don't have
worksheets on that, though. That proves the point. You don't know how to work it. You're not delivering it the way she's delivering it, so you're not getting results the way she's getting results. If you just expect it to be turnkey, but we got to get out of our feelings. Get out.
Yeah. But even the artists that don't know how to sing, that get booed off of the Apollo Theater stage, they still sensitive
and now
too.
It's my job to be sensitive to that, to be able to give you there's a difference between criticism and feedback, right? So I got to be able to give you the feedback based on the evidence.
Yeah.
Because it's real easy if you explain it away. Like you said, so had the nerve to tell me I'm not doing this. Yeah, but you got the nerve to have only 20% of your students passing.
And you got the nerve to be playing movies in your classroom. And I said again, where my mic at? If you playing a movie in your class that does not pertain to the curriculum,
assignments,
you're trash. I don't care if it's a half a day. Kids be like, Ms. Lewis, can we watch a? Hell no. Why will you even fix your mouth and say that you could watch anything in my room? Now, I was a co-teacher one time for a math class, and this was like an Algebra 1 class back in the day. And that general ed teacher used to play the movie. Remember the show Numbers? Where the guy would solve crimes based on the numbers. Now, he would show like episodes of that like on Fridays when, the kids would watch that 30-minute episode, but then it would be like built into the lesson, right? But they were looking forward to Number Fridays, right? Because that's built in the lesson. But there are teachers in the building, all right, that play movies, cartoons,
you're an algebra,
high school classrooms. I walk into these classrooms and they got SpongeBob on.
Hey,
or the
that could be a marine
Charlie Brown
biology
special.
lesson, Miss Lewis. And that
I'm telling you, they're watching movies. And people unpopular opinion, if you're playing a movie in your
Well,
classroom, you need to reevaluate your life. I'm not even going to go far and say you're trash. I'll say you need to
I'm a,
reevaluate your life
and,
because you're
and
being
I'm also
lazy.
like, I'm humbling myself. I'm asking for guidance because, it's,
You
hmm?
got movie teachers in your class, in your school?
Oh,
You got
not
movie
on my
teachers
staff.
in your
No, not,
school?
not, uh, uh,
Oh,
I
nice.
didn't mean that the way that it came off. Well, let me, since you told half of my business, let me tell some of the rest. Uh, I'm no longer a principal. I'm a director of fine arts for a school district. So I supervise all the fine arts programs in our school district. So band, choir,
Let me
orchestra,
get your title
drill,
right.
dance, theater. I even deal with cheer. Any of it, visual art. So that's a lot. That's a large breadth of content.
Mm-hmm.
It's way way different. So like I deal with actual artists, like real artists that are
Who are
that
really sensitive about their shit.
you know what I'm saying. So and I love them all. They're special people, and with artists, I mean, there's certain things that come along with it.
Oh, and the art department, y'all drama, y'all have the issues.
And
Y'all got
you,
different things
I can
going
talk
on over
about them. You
there.
can't talk about them. Don't.
Oh, okay. No, but I'm saying like, but that's project based learning anyways. Like you don't have to worry about
Uh,
paper
but,
and pencil stuff
but
because y'all doing
but we
things
do have
that's
to worry about
actual
antiquated
practical.
pedagogy. We do. We do. And there are lots of people that are
Yeah.
very linked in. There's lots of high technology going on in the fine arts right now. Lots of really, really great
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Well, back in the day when when you were learning how to play an instrument, you got your physical piece of sheet music in your book and you're playing through it and this and that all still happens. There's a program called Smart Music right now. Literally, it'll scroll the music while you're playing it into a microphone on the computer and tell you where you messed up, like literally what note you played wrong. In a and grade it for
Sophisticated.
you, along with a digital library of tens of thousands of songs. Or if you play in band, say you play third clarinet on a song, if the song is in that particular library, that piece of music is in that particular library, I literally can play along with a professional band that does not have my part in it, so I see how it fits and grades how it fits within the ensemble. So there's some really, really popular, not popular, excuse me, powerful things that can go on in that. But that's why I say we're not having movies. But the thing is you can get into things where it's really based on opinion. And I think that's everywhere. Like in my opinion, this is what children need, but you can't really do that because you're not the end all be all.
But so your
Yeah,
opinion is that they could play a
yeah.
movie?
But hell no,
Yeah.
they can't play
Yeah.
no movie.
Listen,
Like honestly,
Dakota never put a
something
movie on.
that I have to
Never.
worry about is learning for all students.
Yep. And they're not
So
learning by watching the
every
movie
kid,
Charlie
every
Brown
single
Christmas
day,
special.
and people do that. I think some people
Yeah.
do that. I think some teachers that are more classroom based and are not performance based. So, for example, like my visual art teachers are more classroom based, and they're more based into working the standards through a scope and sequence, year at a glance, all of that, like core teachers. Because like in Texas, we have something.
Yeah.
Our standards are called the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, or the TEKS. And
Yeah.
now there are TEKS
The
for
T.
everything, but the TEKS for music are written extremely broad to where it's like almost a waste of time. Like I'm in the TEKS and I can do
Yeah.
anything I want almost. Where if I'm in visual art, no, we're talking about the concept of line, and this is what the TEKS says we have to learn. Just like
But even looking at the TEKS, that's the alignment, that's the curriculum. So if you're talking about, okay, so Dakota's on here, she's a new teacher. Um, Looking at the standards, how can you teach to the standards,
mhm.
right? Because the content is the content. How can you teach the content but create a context where students are engaged. And I think that's a part that teachers struggle with, whether it's fine arts,
You're right.
whether it's CTE, whether it's math, or science or special education. How do you get the context to be relatable? And I think that a lot of
And also,
teachers
like
struggle with that
you're saying,
part because they don't really know.
but that
And
the content
mhm,
and getting the context, which I love how you said that, because that's very, very important. But how do you make that context compelling? Because I can give you the content, and I can put it in the correct context. But unless I make it compelling,
Right.
but you need concrete evidence. You need to see the pedagogical approaches where people made it relatable. So here's something that I'm gonna throw some fishing rods out there. Dakota, go and research whole brain. I know I'm country. Whole
let that noise out,
brain
baby. Let it out.
teaching.
Let it out.
Whole WHOLE, whole brain teaching, and even look at slope. Whole brain teaching, slope, and put high school. It's going to come up on YouTube, and you're going to see what whole brain teaching when you use all of the learning styles and fuse it into a lesson. Like, okay, class, let's show me a positive slope using your hands. All right, show me an undefined slope. When kids start engaging, because you're controlling the content with these different types of movements and relatable ways to teach it, instead of just lecturing and talking and expecting kids to take notes. That's another thing. Okay, so I just want to
the new teacher that's on here, a math
Huh?
teacher. Okay.
No, she's a special education
I was about
teacher.
to tell y'all something that blew my mind one time.
She's my math. She's
Okay,
one of
but
my
I will
tutors
tell you this.
for my company.
You'll immediately be like, man, it's like, well, man, how you don't know about that? I didn't at the time. Okay, this was a few years ago that we had to recalibrate our assessment tool in Texas. So one of the things we had to do to become certified to assess teachers is to watch some sample lessons and then grade it using the instrument. And the video, I was totally sucked in to this geometry lesson. Like I was completely locked in. And the people that know me know math is not my ministry. That's Kat's ministry, but math is not my ministry. So, but this woman was doing this lesson. I think it was like a 6th or 7th grade math class. It was all on word problems, but literally the only thing that they did was a process to pull out the correct information and get the correct equation out of the. That was it. They didn't work it. They didn't work it. They didn't come to a solution. It was literally a class period of pulling out the correct information and building the correct equation. That blew my mind because that would have helped me so much as a struggling math student. I was like, oh my God, how come nobody did this for me? So something just that simple can be like, man, how I got mad. Like, you mean tell me I know all these people that in 12 years of school, nobody thought to do that, and watching all of us fail and struggle and this, or just say either you got it or you don't.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, but that's a testimony to instruction. Kids don't really not know math. Yeah. They haven't had good math teachers. You got to understand that math is not a learned behavior, right? Math is not a concept like reading that you can teach, that's self-taught. Math is so complex that you have to have instructional specialists in place that can actually teach the concept and connect with a kid and host classroom management that have all those things wrapped up in one. But it's easier.
Doesn't mean you can teach it. It means you can work the problems. In my current lane, just because I can play an instrument doesn't mean I can teach people how to play an instrument.
Yep. if you're having multiple behavior issues, I always looked at myself first. Okay, what's going on? Now, I taught them all: alternative schools, ED, OHI, opposition, ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. I taught them all, right? But what helped me master behaviors was, first, a kid had to know that I cared before they cared. And when you start building relationships, because in special education, you got to go backwards. I'm going to put linear functions up on the shelf because I need to build a relationship first with these children. I need to know why Johnny just cussed out his mama and punched his grandma in the face, right? I need to connect with him first so I don't get punched in the face, but at the same time, I need to understand this kid. I need to understand why he can't pass a class. I need to understand that he's hungry. I need to understand that he didn't get sleep last night. Once I understand the kid, first I need to know their names. We're sitting in classrooms. What month this is? This is what, January? And we still have some teachers that don't know these kids' damn names.
I think I would push back only slightly. Just this much, and it's gonna make total sense. Is that because I remember, because I watched this thing, how you was coming, like, from the very beginning. I'm with you. I think a lot of people think that building relationships and quality instruction are mutually exclusive. Either I'm building relationships or I'm giving quality instruction. I don't know why people's brain tends to work that way. I see it the way that you see it. It all works together. Like in the book said, it all works together for our the book also says in all things gain an understanding, but that don't happen either sometimes. So we'll leave that where it's at. But it's one of those things where people's like, okay, well, I'm building relationships. And there are people that are real cool. Being cool with the kids don't mean you're teaching. It means, like, they do only what you literally just said. Like, literally, they will get through all of that and have great relationships, and they'll just be like, depending on how old they are, either they like their grandma or their auntie or unc. I'm 41, so I'm like on unc status. I'm people's cool uncle, at some point. But they also know unc gonna give it to them, and they're gonna give it real to them. You know what I'm saying? It's the idea of kind of what you were saying before. How do you manipulate the material? How many manipulations do you have at your fingertips when you're in the classroom when it's not working? How well planned are you, other than, well, the old saying is like, well, give me the book and I'm gonna be 1 week ahead of the kids. That's cool. You can do that content wise, but contextually, as you said before, I'm gonna keep using that, cat, because that was good. I'm gonna write that. Contextually, like, you got to be able to deliver that in a way where kids get excited about it. They're compelled by what you say. Because if people will watch movies. Why do people show movies? Because they probably can't handle their kids, and it makes them stay quiet.
Yeah.
They're lazy. It's busy. I don't believe in busy work.
It's like,
go ahead.
I can't handle it when they're not watching a movie. They all over the place. But when I put on Black Panther, they got their attention. So we missed the point of getting and keep.
Hey, Colin.
Get their attention.
I'm listening. I'm sorry.
Right?
APG. Yeah. Listen, when you do things right, people will come back. And you don't have to. I'm not one of those teachers that need the accolades. That's not my love language, right? But I get them because when I got into when I got into the business of teaching and I saw what was going on, I knew that I needed to be a transformer. So being a transformer meant that I'm changing children's lives because I want them to do what I wish a teacher had done for me. Like, I wish I would have had a Miss Lewis when I was growing up. Do you know where I would be right now if I had took a dual enrollment entrepreneurship class when I was 16 years old? When somebody would have taught me how to create an LLC, how to build a structure, how to write a business plan, how to file my taxes, if somebody would have taught me that, I would not be sitting in front of us. But you know, everybody had their path and they had their journey. But when teachers understand that you are a transformer, and I'm not just talking about you're an educator, you are shaping and molding and accommodating and modifying these kids' lives. You are, you know, we complain and we say, oh, I had to be the auntie, I had to be the psychologist, I had to be the janitor, I had to be all these different things, right? But the whole scope of teaching is that we are going to continually have to adapt. And we cannot do those things that will hamper or not serve our students. And when I say serve, I'm going to tell you this. Ray, when my daughter was in high school, I didn't want her to have a boyfriend. I talked to her about this, and here's why I didn't want her to have a boyfriend. I feel like a boyfriend in high school is not beneficial for you. Because what is a boy going to do for you? In high school? No, people, that's bull crap. People say, oh, it's going to help her learn how to have a relationship. No, the hell is not. A high school boy is not going to do nothing but break your heart and try to take your cookies. Okay? That's all he wants. All right? He ain't trying to marry you. He ain't trying to invest in you. He ain't trying to buy you no house. He ain't going to pay for your college education. So why do we need a boyfriend? Right? So when I say that do things that's beneficial for you, then we will, we're going to continue on this path of what's beneficial. So what's beneficial for my students is not movies. What's beneficial for my students, I don't care how you put it. No, no, no. If it's built in the curriculum, cool. But if it's not built in the curriculum, no. I'm not playing a movie for my kids. I'm not going to let them have chill time. I'm not giving them downtime. I'm not letting them go play outside and sit out on the yard because I finished my lesson too early. That means I wasn't thoroughly planned. These things do not help our children. Do not give them a worksheet. That's not help. Don't give them a packet to finish and turn in by Friday. These things are not beneficial, just like a boyfriend was not beneficial to Maya.
No. I mean,
and
it's
I don't
like,
care how
it's
you
like
put
this,
it.
and I think y'all would agree. There aren't enough people that are the student of the game.
Thank you, Poppy. He said they jumping legs in high
I ain't even
school. That's
doing
what they're
that.
trying to do.
We got these things, so I'm gonna leave. Hey, they ain't my
They
business.
jumping.
I'm old.
You in the high school. They jumping.
This whole
you
jumping
know.
leg thing is out of my. But it's like people aren't students of the game. Like exactly what you said. You gotta be a student of the game, otherwise the game gonna pass you by.
And teachers, unfortunately, are the worst students.
Amen. And eventually, that's what spawned my question. Like, I'm just being real with you. That's what spawned my question because it's been common because I've been blessed to be a high school principal, director in a couple districts, AP, do a bunch of different things through a bunch of different subject areas. I've had to oversee math one time, which was terrifying because, again, I'm a math person. But that's when I learned I didn't have to be an expert in the field. I had to be an expert at helping experts, if that makes sense. Yeah. I know what you know. I need to be able to be sure that I put you in the facilitate and put you in positions to win using what you know. And also while I humble myself and say, look, I don't know, I'm going to come in there and look, I am not going to pretend like I'm a math expert, but I want to learn. I want you to help me help you, right? And I've noticed that most people, because there are some that, haters are haters, but I think if administrators come very humbly, like, look, this is not my background, but I want to help you. Like, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert to tell you what to do. Because I don't think experts need to stand in a circle and wait for one person to tell them what to do. To know what to do already, because you're the expert.
y'all said earlier that they didn't know they needed
You do
professional
need professional
development.
development because you do need professional development because you need to be a student of the game. And not everybody is as proactive because yeah, you can Google, yeah, you can YouTube. You're absolutely right. But some people don't know where to start. Or especially if as a district you decide like, hey, this is where we're gonna go and this is what we want to stick with it. Like like I'm a big fan of Solution Tree PLC. That's a yeah,
The
100%. The
PLCs,
four
yeah,
essential.
we do that.
Right.
But if
You can't
they're done
with it. You
effectively,
can't get cute with it. You got to do it the way it's intended to be done.
oh no, but then it has to be
Mm-mm.
top heavy. Y'all got to regulate that too, because if y'all don't
It
regulate it, ain't nobody holding
has
no
to be
PLC like
top
it's
heavy.
supposed to
If
be.
when it's best implemented, it is not top heavy.
But that's what I'm saying. It is top heavy if it's implemented. Like y'all show how it's done. This is
But
what y'all want. This is the expectations. This is the running data that you need to submit, or this is what we're collecting. But when you don't do that part, see, that's what's going on with us. You just told us, oh yeah, y'all need to do PLCs, but nobody's requesting anything to show evidence of a PLC happening. And then nobody's coming in and saying, because the administrator is supposed to sit in on weekly or bi-weekly PLCs, but then the administrator is not coming in because they're dealing with other things, right? And then that leaves the loophole open where the teacher that's supposed to be the PLC lead, she don't give a damn or he don't give a damn neither. So what happens is that PLC goes down the drain and there's no regulation. And I believe in regulation. You know, I really think that I'm a
I'm just going
Republican
to answer
at
this question.
heart.
So look,
Because I'm
I'm with you. Leave that
conservative.
microphone over there. But I would retort this. Okay, so when we do come through, get out. So when we do come through,
Huh?
and say, hey, why isn't this done? Why isn't that? Here's what we're doing. We're modeling expectations. Da, 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 get out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being real. We got to keep that.
I didn't hear
Get
that
out
last
your damn
part. You said get
feelings
out the
is
what?
what I say. Get out your damn
Oh, yeah.
feelings.
I agree.
Like, and it's not for everybody because I can deal with that. If I know I didn't quite do something the way I was supposed to do, or I took a calculated risk, or I decided I was gonna be a maverick and just do something different, and I get called down for that, like, or if I got to sit in somebody's office for that, I got to take that L. I got to take that on the chin and just keep it moving. That lost art. It's real hard. People don't want to take L's no more. People don't.
Well,
But
let HR take that
well,
L.
the thing is, we all
Deliver
mess
the
up
L.
sometimes. We're all human. We all human, and every now and then somebody got to tell us you could have did this a little bit better, or you received some feedback. But you got to receive that in stride, and sometimes you got to trust the source. When you don't trust the source, it gets messy, right? If I'm getting feedback from somebody, like Kat, if you call me and you say, hey, look, bop, 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 I'm gonna trust that because I know that's coming from a good place, and you're gonna tell me the truth. You're not just saying something, from left field just because. Some people don't have that trust in spirit, or you have to prove to them that it's coming from a good place. Example, when I was a principal one time, I had an employee and she had her way of doing things, and she just kind of wasn't trying to hear me. She just wanted to try and stand off. Do this. This is what she wanted to do. And you know me, you know what I'm saying? We cut from the same cloth. You ain't gonna talk to me crazy now. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you're not gonna talk to me crazy. So there was a few moments where I had to explain to her she had some opportunities where she had to grow, and explain that in very clear terms. But it wasn't until she thought it was just a philosophical thing. It wasn't until she literally saw me fight for her. Mm-hmm. When someone,
she needed to know you care.
There was somebody kind of from out of the building that came into the building to try and start some stuff professionally. We ain't talking about the street. We're talking about something professionally. But somebody came in the building trying to start something, and literally with her in the room, well, I think you should do this, this with this person, and blah, blah, blah. I'll say, well, no, ma'am, we're not. I'll take everything under advisement. However, this person did not do this, and this, and they did this upon my request. And as the principal of this campus, it's well within my right to make that request. So I'll take your advice under advisement, but in the meantime, I'll keep doing what's best for this campus and ultimately our students on this campus. And then from that on, after that interaction happened, after that person left, she thanked me very sincerely, and then there was no more static.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because she had to know, and that's just like building relationships with kids. She needed to know that you care. And once she knew that you care, then y'all can move forward with a relationship. Mm-hmm. Kids know whether you're genuine or not. And Gina said, L's are how we learn and grow. And that is true. But some people don't want to own up to that L, like he was talking about. A lot of people are defensive. You know, like, I know I'm always late, but you can't tell me I'm late. Right? You know, so I think that a lot of times people do need to get out of their feelings. No, but not to move too far. I know what you would say, what a lot of teachers would say. You would say, but look at my data, look at all of this, but you want to come tell me I'm late. It's probably what you would say. My personal philosophy, I'm not saying everybody should think like this. If I'm talking to you about time, you got a whole lot of other problems. Because that's the last thing I'm worried about. Like, for me personally, I was never in. Gotcha. Oh, you're saying that's the like last, like, you're really like at like, hear me out. I know you're coming late. I'm a big believer in knowing everything I possibly can. I know you're coming late. But what's happening in that classroom? Are you in there before the kids are there? If you walking in with the kids, you better be killing it. Mm-hmm. You feel what's going on? If you're
walking in with the kids showing Charlie Brown.
No, I'm not.
But you see what I'm saying?
I'm not sure, but
like, if your instruction is on point, you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. You pushing it to the limit. In the rare times I gotta ask you, hey, Miss Lewis, could you please, yada yada yada? Is that met with a bunch of net popping and eye rolling, or you know what I'm saying? But if your instruction is trash, you gotta. You're not carrying yourself professionally, whether it be with your colleagues or with the people that you're under their stewardship. I ain't you wearing being petty like that. To work? Then at the end of the day, you teaching kids in UGG slippers. And you're late too. The slippers, not that's the boots. Cherry on the top. And you don't come to work on time. Yeah. You didn't see that?
I know.
No, y'all know the UGG slippers.
What slippers?
Ray. The slippers.
Oh, the ones that
UGG slippers.
Coming in with the bonnet
the fuzzy ones.
Ain't gonna when they get to their room.
It's teachers.
While the kids are doing the activator.
They putting the bonnet on.
Walk in.
Stop it! I'm not talking about you. You're talking about our head wrap.
All right.
They have a head wrap.
I know the difference between a head wrap and a I know. I regret
a teacher wearing a bonnet in the school building.
I know so much about hair that I have picked up from osmosis. I know the difference between a head wrap and a bonnet, ma'am. I promise you that. People do wild stuff.
Listen, y'all need to get rid of her immediately. And listen, when we start talking about the holistic approach, like educators are supposed to set a standard, and people can say whatever they want to say. When we step foot in these classrooms and these kids receive us, we supposed to be the superhero, and it is no way that you're a superhero with a bonnet on and slippers and every day you wear sweats. Like, can you dress up hood. One day?
Super like super hood
or leggings?
Huh?
Super hood superhero.
Leggings. Like, Like, come on. Like, this stuff, the
But
appearance
here's
is
my
worse
thing,
than the
and
movie.
I've learned this. Some people and some administrators, they worry about the wrong thing because it's like a sliding scale, right? So if you're more worried about this is my opinion. If you're more worried about what time somebody's car is in the parking lot or what they got on, versus, and I'm talking about within reason now, within reason, then what's happening in that classroom, you got a problem. You don't need to be happy.
I don't really think that
I
administrators
can
do
tell
that, though.
with love and respect, my cousin, you are dead wrong. Dead wrong. And
Really?
unfortunately, it tends to be in certain types of school districts. And I'll let you figure that. I will let you figure that out.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
one
So,
I'm talking
yeah. Yeah, I'm not in the
about. Yes.
African American
So
district.
because people will be killing themselves every day, doing the very best that they can, being an advocate for children, giving high quality instruction. But if you don't pass the fashion show test, somebody gonna tell you something. Or if you leave, if you're not staying late,
Really?
it's a
So sad.
problem. Like I can tell you how I work. I've worked this way almost my entire life. I'm a person in like, okay, I'm gonna stay a little bit, but I would always like to kind of go home, chill out for a little bit, and then come back and hit it at the house. Like if I got some paperwork, some computer work or whatever. So like say school's out at 3:15. I was always kind of the type, like, okay, the kids are gone, maybe about 4. I might get in the car and then somehow cool out at the crib till about 7:30 because I'm a night owl. And now I'm back at it.
Yeah.
But why does my car have to be in the parking lot till 6 for me to be working hard?
No,
Especially
I
if
get
I'm
that. I'm not.
outperforming you.
I said that earlier. No. I'm not saying that. I'm
Yeah.
talking about, we know who these teachers are. The ones that's beating the kids to the bus, right? Or trying to get out the parking lot before the kids. I'm talking about that consistent behavior. You could never catch them after school
You never
late,
gonna.
doing anything. What I'm saying is my best, when I grew as an educator, is when I did stay after school. When I did leave no, everybody don't have to do what I do, but when I did leave those times at 7 o'clock at night, I was preparing and I was intentional on what had to get done because I'm
But you figured
intentional about the
out
growth
what
of my
worked for
children.
you. That's
So
the
in these
important.
classes,
You did the work,
that's what works for me.
and you figured out what worked for you. I think that's the important because you can't skip doing the work. Whether it's at the school like you did it, because tons of people do it. Other people, or
Yeah.
whether you do it, and whether
Or you go
whether
home
you
and do the
tend to do
work.
it how I do it. I'll come home, cool, eat a little bit, talk to my wife a little bit, and
Yeah.
then I go up to my laptop and it's back on and popping again. And now maybe I might be up late and get on one. I'm still a creative, so if I get on a roll, I'm going till 1 o'clock at night, nonstop. So to me, I'm kind of like that old Muhammad Ali quote. I got to work when it's dark so I can shine when the lights are on. Situation. So
That's right.
to me, I don't all that dog and pony show stuff. Again, it's just my opinion. Is just kind of foolish. But because it doesn't work for someone else the way. To me,
What's the dog and pony
for example,
show?
who got time to be sitting there whenever they walk out to inventory whose car is still in the parking lot? Who got
People do that?
That's why you being messy. I have worked at places.
Oh, I know. We had a
And then
place.
I've
We
got
had one where the principal was
Oh
standing
yeah,
in the parking
I
lot with a
know
clipboard.
several principals that. I know some that do it currently.
Yeah.
And outside with or go back in the office and look at those security cameras. That's better than the clipboard. but you know
That's
what
better
else?
than the clipboard
I've
technology.
also
See,
worked.
they enhancing the instruction.
I've worked in buildings. Let's say
You know?
these aren't the real hours, but let's say the hours are 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. These are not the real hours. If you pull up to work on time at 7, you're the only person there.
Yeah.
And if you walk out at
So
6 o'clock on the dot, 75% of the parking lot is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like it affected us. Like the old school
oh yeah.
bell
More than
when
that,
the
let's
whistle would
up
go
that
off, like on the
8%.
cartoons, it's quitting time. Everybody just drop what they doing and go.
Yeah.
But what happens between 7 to 6? If people are killing it from 7 to 6, that's what it is.
Also, you know, if I was an educational consultant, let's say I was hired to go and fix a school, turn a school around, because you know you have those people that's hired for turnaround schools, right? I would do just what you did. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get up, get in my car, get there about 6 o'clock. I want to watch the flow. When are they coming in? And then I'm gonna go outside right before dismissal so I can see. First, I want to see how the parking lot look at about 2:30. School get out at 3:15, 3:30. Or majority of your folks gone. Some principals, they don't care what the teacher do on planning. You could leave and you can go to Starbucks. Some people, they want the teachers in the building and the teachers can't leave
But that's all very
on your
cultural.
planning.
You know, Peter Drucker said, well, Anthony Muhammad is credited with this, but even he says, and I believe him, that a lot of people say I said this, but Peter Drucker actually said this. And this is so true. Culture devours structure. I'm going to say that again and let that rest in your spirit. Culture devours structure. It eats it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It does not matter if you have the most
Sure.
data proven, like we've been talking PLC a little bit. There is data for every single size, demographic, every type of school you can think of that will mirror your school to prove that PLCs work and move the ball in a significant way. You can go to allthingsplc.com and pull data from any part of the country, any size, any demographic, any percentage of low economically disadvantaged. They have data on everything to show you that this is like a sure thing to have. Now, I may not bring you from an F-rated campus or an A-rated campus, but it'll significantly push you forward, right? Yeah, if done effectively. But it does not matter if you do that if the culture is not willing to receive it.
That's right.
If the culture is as such, we like it here, we like it how it is, we all failing, we all love each other, but we don't know what in the hell we doing. But we love each other. We don't mess up that we love each other environment for that. If it's not accepting of it, it's just not accepting of it.
So Dee, have you experienced a proper PLC with the agenda itinerary sent out prior to you getting in there? When you're sitting in there, there's minutes being taken. And what's the thing with the roles? See, I've been removed from a proper PLC for so long.
Yeah, the
when the person
roles are defined, like the scribe, the timekeeper. Oh,
and it was another person that goes through the PLC.
Order.
Dang, what's the name?
Facilitator.
The facilitator.
Yeah. And when everybody's sitting at the table, you're coming together with your test data. You're coming together with what was commissioned of you to come together, come to the table with. And everybody's crunching the data. Everybody's talking about what happened in their class, what happened with this assessment. Because we're talking about, well, in our math PLC, when I sat in successful ones, we have an agenda. We follow our agenda. We have like this unit exam. Everybody's bringing their data. We have a reflection. We have already looked through and scrutinized the data to see what's going on with our classes, and we're talking about it. Then we're making changes, and then we're talking about what we're going to do next. What worked for this teacher? what worked for that teacher, and then we're all coming together what didn't work. An administrator is present sometimes, but not all the time. And when the administrator was present, they didn't talk. They sat there, and if we needed advice or we asked a question, and they would be there. But D, have you ever experienced the proper
In
PLC?
complete totality, no. Meaning, yes, up until the point of you being in there with your colleagues and discussing data, discussing what's taking place with the courses and the sequences of our programs. And then when it reaches the follow-up at the leadership level for next steps is where usually the ball gets dropped.
That's
so
very common.
So half and half. So in totality, to answer your question, no.
Yeah.
Halfway successful. It's gonna be how I phrase that.
I found that to be very, very common. Like,
and
because of your 4 questions, right? You know, what do you want your students to learn? How do you know if they learned it? What do you do? And I'm paraphrasing. You know, what do you do if they haven't learned it? Like, how are you going to help them learn it? And then what are you going to do if they have? Like, how do you
norms.
the norms? But that's just your rules of operation.
Yeah, the rules of operation, they have the rules, D. It's like real, you got it. The experience in those PLCs, like effectively done, right? You had the norms. We talk about that in the beginning. These are the norms for the meeting. We agree to disagree. We will not talk over one another. We would not get angry. We would not, different things is going on. We would talk about the data and create our opinions strictly based on numbers, right? So when they are efficiently and properly done, then they are really effective. But this is what I'm saying, though, because I don't want to keep y'all on here too long.
Low anyway,
what I'm saying is that
you're not gonna have to look at my ugly face here in the minute.
That essential part is missing, and I think that teachers, if they haven't been exposed to data-driven PLCs, they haven't been exposed to culturally relevant pedagogy, if they haven't been exposed to whole brain teaching, they haven't been exposed to all these different techniques, then you will have monotony of ineffective teaching practices, and you have to do that as an administrator. You have to find a way.
Make sure that PLC is not a verb; it is a noun, and that's where it gets jacked up.
Yeah,
like, what are you doing? I'm PLCing, or I'm, or we're fixing to go PLC. It's not a meeting; it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. How you do business.
That hit the nail on the head, because it's definitely seen as, I'm going to, another meeting. And then essentially teachers will say another meeting that should have been an email. And that's definitely not, a PLC cannot be an email.
Yeah, it cannot be something that's just there go he's done.
I got it.
But it can't be some. But I don't want to hold you too long, D, because I know, but I appreciate you. But I just think that sometimes when we look at like what we do and we don't see nothing wrong with it because we've been doing it for so long, I think that sometimes when you really look at it from a point of view where on the outside looking in and you're like, hey, maybe I should change that, right? Maybe I'm not being the best that I can for my students, then I think it allows us to grow. So not eating like McDonald's no more, even though I've been doing it forever, if that's going to help me become healthier and and have a better body, then and a better health, attitude on health, then maybe I should not do it anymore. So I look at simple things. I look at it simple, like, how's a movie helping my kids? How's a worksheet helping my kids? Like, and that's why in the beginning I showed examples like we can do so much um,
And you
to
want
help
your
students
child to
thrive.
be
And
taught. You want your children's teachers to be doing what a lot of these teachers are doing.
yeah, I want to give my children, my students, what I expect a teacher to give my child. So I believe in karma. I believe in that, putting it in the universe. If I'm teaching a kid a certain way, hopefully my children will Layla get a phenomenal teacher, like I am in the classroom where she can grow, right? So, yeah. But yeah, Boo, thank you for
No, this was a
anything you
great
want to say
topic.
though.
You always have great topics. I'm excited you brought it
Yeah,
back.
I just don't, Yeah, I want to, well, this summer, I was talking about that last year, but this summer I wanted us to have a PD. And I want to have what people will buy the tickets. I'm going to show you because it's this group of math teachers that I follow on Instagram, and they do one for math. But I want to do one like a general overall, just have certain topics. And then let's say you'll lead in organization, right? I'm gonna have it tiered. So let's say you'll be the face of organization for teachers. I'm just speaking out loud, but I'll pay you to be a keynote speaker for that, and then people would pay to participate. Like it'll be a master class. Whether it be, I would love to do it in person, but
That's awesome.
however things go. But I'm doing that this summer. But
you welcome always.
Thank you, Boo. It's always good talking to you, even though I saw you today.
You too.
All right, and kiss the babies.